Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Got a new project underway today. We're going to start the next bow build on the list of bow builds that I want to do. And this next one is going to be a bamboo back and bamboo belly designed bow. This kind of takes the construction methods that I've been working on up to this point, as far as just a plain backing to a single belly piece, and kind of expanding on that process. But there's a little more nuance involved in this, because of course once you put the bamboo on the belly, we are really mitigating our ability to tiller from the belly. Okay, so a lot of importance placed on having these parts bending properly before we ever put the bow together. The tillering occurs, or the way we tiller these bows, is through heat. Similar to like Japanese type bows, Yumi bows or something like that, where we're gonna use heat to induce flex where we need it, and to work it out where it's bending too much. Tempering becomes a part of that process, and so there are a lot of little nuances that go into the construction of this type of bow. But I will tell you that when you have it in your hands in its finished state, these things are wicked fast, wicked forgiving, and very exciting to build and shoot. And so that is the build that we're going to embark on, and I will show you some examples and some construction processes here in just a moment. Okay guys, so here's a group of bamboo back and belly bows that I have made. I've kind of got them organized from start to, well, not start, but oldest to newest, with this being the very first bamboo back and belly bow I ever made, and then just kind of progressing through what I have going on here. Now, you might notice that there is one fiberglass bow in the mix, and I will explain why that bow is there in just a moment. But I would tell you the construction of this particular bow, it made me a sycophant for the construction process, or for the bow itself. It was something. It was kind of a breakthrough for me. I really loved the way that this bow handles. It shoots. It's smooth. If you were to look at or check out the width on this bow, it is super narrow. That's because I made it a little too thick. And if you've watched my tillering bows, or bringing the bow to the string video with regard to my bamboo back Deepay build along, you'll know that I manage weight through the width more so than taking anything off the belly. And so that's why this particular bow is quite thin. And then, you know, tried to do some more dramatic type designs, and we'll kind of talk about wild curves in a minute as well. Here's another attempt where I tried to take some of those curves out of the design. Didn't fare so well on this particular bow, and you can tell it was abandoned. I mean, it shoots, it draws, and etc. But the tiller really got away from me. It's exceptionally thin. I didn't do my pre-work properly on this one. This one right here is when I really started to get close to what I was aiming for. Great shooting bow, 53-pound bow, or 50 some odd pounds. Great shooter. This is a fiberglass bow, one of only two I've ever built ever. And if you take a look at the riser portion here, it is exactly the same. And what I did was I built these two bows simultaneously, just to see what the difference was. And you will see how the fiberglass bow held the shape of the form that I put it in comparison to the natural materials bow. But he came out at about a 45-pound draw. He came out at 50 plus, and just a really really great shooter. I had to borrow it back from the shop where I have it up for sale. That's what the sticker is on there. And then finally, my most recent build right here, that is, it's only 40 pounds, 27 inches. I try to keep the draw on that to 27 inches for whoever wants to purchase it, only because it was something of a salvage project, but it turned out really, really well. I couldn't get a high draw weight out of it because I had to do a lot of mitigating work, heat work to work on some hinges, and so I had to get it down to 40 pounds to eliminate some extra bend where I didn't want it. But at a 40-pound draw weight, this bow weighs 14 ounces. So from a mass standpoint, there just is not much to it, and it shoots incredibly well. With each of these bows, I've kind of put together the, if you want to call these the patterns that I used for their risers. Now, you'll take note on these risers that have what looks like a bulb shape to them. That was because I tried to do a continuous piece of bamboo on the belly and then to cut through it. That was my intent with these particular bows. The real curvy one, this one right here that I'm putting the mold, no, it's not a mold, it's the pattern on, did not fare well. That bow's a dog for what that's worth. And then my first build, which was just a really, really big riser section. That bow itself is like 66 inches or 68 inches, something like that. So that's the start and then a finish. And I would tell you that a lot of the effort with these particular designs comes in the ability to navigate this particular transition. Okay, this is where your difficulty resides in construction, and we will address that later. Right here at the fades, that is where you really have to pay particular attention. So if I can get in close here, I'm going to try and actually, okay, so you can see a really good glue line transition there. Marginal, definitely horrible. You can see that the EA40 had to fill a lot of gap right there, a lot of gap. In my very first attempt, you know, it's when you do really well on a first attempt that all of a sudden you're just making tons more and realizing that, gosh darn it, you know, I seem to have it right on the first one. Why do I have to make so many more and mess them up? You know, why mess up such a good thing? But I felt like the riser section was just way too big. You know, there's too much riser in there that I could really shorten the bow by doing a little different riser. And so down into here, this is still a little on the large side for a riser, but I have found this to be really just about perfect, because here's a very short, this is probably the shortest riser length I've made right here. Feels good in the hand, don't get me wrong, but you'll see it ends rather abruptly. Now we can do some work on here to bulk it out, add some wood and stuff. You see that on fiberglass bows. So there are different things we can do there. How you decide to design yours is obviously a personal preference, but first things first, you got to come up with a riser plan and a mold in which to glue this particular bow. All right, and so I have made a number of these. You'll notice that right here, that is mold number 7. Okay, so I have been through this a few times, and of course multiple constructions on each one. This will pretty much set on there, and I gotta scoot back to fill that almost exactly. So it needs to match the curve of the mold right there. Right, so that is our call for glue up. And you'll notice that the curves on that are not as crazy wild as they could be, and not as crazy wild as I have done in the past. So like, let's see here, let's get back. This particular bow, I really had him on a very sharp curve, and the fiberglass bow too, you know. That was quite a curve for this particular bow. Even though this worked out, you can see it took a lot of string follow in the end, because it had the exact same profile on glue up that this bow had. Something to be aware of when you get into tri-lam construction, these bows are going to actually hold the shape of the mold that you put them in almost entirely. Now you'll give back a little bit. The natural materials will take a little bit back, but like in the build I did with the just a single glue line, they gave up about half of the induced reflex that we gave them. These hold most of it, and from that point you're just giving it back in the tillering process. So got to be aware of that, and so we want to be careful that we don't do any real wild curves in these things. We are going to stick with gentle curves and a virtuous character to build this bow. So nothing too wild. All right. So this is just kind of the start of things, guys. I am going to cut the video here. This is just kind of a teaser for what's up to come. Be sure to check out the producing a bamboo back. I'll put a card either at the end or a tab here in the video when I'm editing, so that you guys can access that video. We will want to follow that particular process for both the back and the belly. So we need 2 pieces of bamboo, ground down and tillered. Each of them can be same dimensions. We don't have to worry about having too thick a dimension on the belly. I know that if it's a straight up bamboo to bamboo, you would want the belly to be a little bit thicker than the back. But in this case, since we're adding a core, we don't have to worry about that particular aspect. If you want to make one of these without a core, that is perfectly good. You do it by making that belly piece just a hair thicker than your back. All right, and we can follow the same processes that way. I will tell you that I have never made one in that construction process. I've always built a core. I felt that that was the best way to hedge my bets on a good tiller. And so that's how this build is going to go. All right, so be sure to like and subscribe. That way you can get notifications when each of these new builds comes along. But I plan on having one out each week until we finish it. All right, so I will see you in the coming weeks, and we will get another one of these beauties in the production. And hopefully you guys can build along or get inspired to do so. These are real fun bows to make and even funner to shoot.